Now, having metrics is a really critical part of your interview process at Amazon. They need to see those metrics to see the impact that you've had on your business, which is why so many candidates ask me what to do when they don't have metrics to go along with their examples. So I'm going to take you through effectively 4 different scenarios that I've identified from these questions and help you understand how best to manage each of those scenarios. Now, before I do that, if you would like some pre-written notes on this video and indeed the entire channel, you can click on a link that's in the description that will take you somewhere where you can go and get yourself those notes so you don't have to spend all of your time scribbling and you can focus on the content. Okay, so I said 4 different scenarios that I'm going to take you through. So scenario 1 is where the story that you're telling isn't actually very kind of appropriate to metrics. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense to have any metrics in there. Now that happens actually quite a lot with leadership principles like earn trust and customer obsession, because they tend to be more about people and relationships, and quite often it's hard to land a metric in that because a metric was never really part of the story. So that's honestly okay, as long as you have metrics when you're talking about other leadership principles. Not having metrics for those ones isn't going to be the end of the world. But what you want to probably do is when you are getting to that part of your star story, you've done your situation, your task, your action, and you're now in result, what you should do is cue to your interviewer something along the lines of, well, obviously, I don't have metrics to share with you because that just doesn't work in the context of this story, but the outcome of that situation was, etc., etc., etc. So they know and you know that kind of there's a good reason why there are no metrics involved, and then you should be fine. Scenario 2 is where the project hasn't actually delivered any metrics yet, to quote. So my advice on this one is, if you haven't actually gone all the way through the project and got to the point of delivering it, and if you are really high up the funnel in terms of the stages, the thinking and the execution, then I would actually strongly recommend that you don't talk about that scenario, because you won't even have enough information to be able to give the interviewer evidence on your behaviors in terms of how you went about delivering that project, let alone what you actually delivered in the end when it comes to metrics. So if you're high up the funnel with a project and you haven't got to the point where you have literally released it out the door, or you're just about to release it out the door, avoid it. That said, if you are at that point in the project where you've gone all the way through, you've done all of the work, and now all you're waiting for is the numbers, then that's fine. You can take the interviewer through your example, situation, task, action, because they'll get loads of evidence in terms of how you went about doing it. Then what you can do is explain to your interviewer that, here's my suggestion, you haven't just got the results yet, they are coming and they'll be with you very shortly, and then explain to them what you plan to do with those results once they're through. So even though they can't see the actual business impact that you've had, they can see your behaviors in terms of how, and they can see exactly how you plan to use that data once you've got it through. The third scenario is where perhaps you do a role where metrics just don't play or feature very much. Let's say, for example, you work in legal and you provide legal counsel to the business at large. So in that context, in the main, you should be okay to talk through examples that don't have metrics if you're talking about the actual work that you execute. But even that said, Amazon is always going to be looking for people who focus not only on the work that they do, but also the way they work. So even in a job like legal, an Amazon interviewer is going to be looking for what have you done to improve and become more efficient in the way you work or in the way that colleagues work. So you are, I suggest, going to want to think of examples that are around process improvements, and efficiencies and how you've changed ways of working to make yourself more effective and the people who are relying on you more effective. Now, in that context, you are going to want to come up with some kind of metrics, whether it's about the amount of hours that you've had to put into a particular process, the number of different meetings that you may have had before and now you've reduced down to, etc. So even for roles where your actual work isn't aligned with the concept of metrics, you're still going to be expected to be thinking about how you become more efficient, and therefore you're going to want to pull to the table, maybe in just one example, some metrics to give your interviewer a sense of comfort that you are Amazonian. The fourth scenario is where your current company or maybe your previous company didn't actually focus on measurement in the way Amazon focuses on measurement. Now, there are still a lot of companies out there who aren't that rigorous when it comes to measuring things, and they don't have the tools in place. Now, if that's you, I've got to be honest, this is going to be tough for you because Amazon is so focused on metrics and on measurement. But it isn't the end of the world. What you can do is when you're going through your situation, your task, your action, and you're onto your result, what you could then do is say to your interviewer that unfortunately the company that you were working for didn't have these type of rigorous measurement processes in place, but if you were to be measuring this particular activity, this is the type of thing that you would be measuring, this is why you would be measuring it, and this is what you would then do with that measurement. So although they're not getting the benefit of understanding your impact on the business, which is why they want that measurement information in the first place, but you will give them a level of comfort that you are, at least at a DNA level, the type of person that thinks about and considers measurement to be important. Because again, that's about getting them comfortable that you are Amazonian. Now, be warned on this one, okay? Because if this is the route that you go down, the likelihood is your interviewer will do a follow-up question to you and ask you what you did to try and implement improved measurement processes if you recognize, which you obviously now do, that that type of process or lack of that process is suboptimal for the organization. So if you are going down that route, make sure you have planned a response to that question. So what you need to do now is click on this link up here to go and claim your free Customer Obsession Masterclass from my Amazon Interview Wiz Academy. If you watch that content and use it, I promise you'll blow your interviewer away with any answers to their questions on customer obsession. If you don't want to do that right now, look at this video here for more bar raiser quality tips on the Amazon interview process.